So, thought I'm the first speaker. Hopefully we can start today off on a really uplifting topic, death. But let's take an attitude adjustment to it. To get this started, 1.8 people die every second. I could only find a stock photo of 2 people. Just imagine there's 1.8 people here. It's kind of sad. These people could die from things like terrible selfie stick disasters. I mean, there's an ocean here, sharks, probably not going to be good. They could get killed by a rogue drone, package falls on them, who knows. They, more likely, killed by an exploding hoverboard. I mean, look at this guy with this dog. That's actually pretty impressive. More likely, though, it would be one of these things here. Heart disease, stroke, COPD, lung cancer. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Really, really depressing stuff. But what can we do about it? And I guess that's why we're here today, to kind of figure out what we could possibly do about it. And I think we need to start with an attitude adjustment. We don't need to just accept that death is kind of going to happen to all of us. There might be something that we could do about it. And I think that some people are starting to realize this. Today, some of the speakers you'll see will talk about this. But already, immortality has occurred in nature. There's this jellyfish that has this really scientific name. I'm not sure. Just Google jellyfish immortality. You'll find out about it. It's the only creature that we know of that basically can live forever. It gets old, reproduces, then goes back to kind of its unreproductive state, and then it keeps going on and on and on. So we know that some type of immortality may be possible. Somehow we just have to figure out how to turn us into jellyfish. An interesting fact, and hopefully this gives some of us a little bit of hope, since 1900 the human lifespan has doubled. And you can see, luckily it keeps going up and up. Hopefully it continues that way. We're seeing genetic breakthroughs. Later today you'll see that Liz Parrish from BioViva, who's done gene therapy on herself. It's amazing stuff. I mean, we have that CRISPR-Cas9 that may change everything. And already the ultra-rich are investing in basically life extension, extreme longevity, through Google's Calico. So people realize that, there might be something here. So all I'm saying is that if we take a new attitude towards death, we might be able to change our future, leave people kind of more open to the possibilities that maybe we can do something. If we can't cure death, maybe we can extend our lifespans. If we start a dialogue on death, maybe we can start some type of movement. Somebody will discover a cure to help us live longer, prosper. And potentially we could save the 1,080 people that will die during this presentation. 1.8 people a second, 10 minutes. It's kind of sad. So I want to know, have any of you kind of started this conversation with other people to think like, or have you talked to people to say like, here are these breakthroughs that are happening, and if you have talked to them, what their responses have been? So, yeah.
Sure. Should I introduce myself?
Sure.
My name is Emo, and I work at SAP doing analytics and IoT. I've talked to people about that, and usually the question that follows is, why do you want to be immortal?
Yeah.
Who would that impact? And usually the questions along the lines of how, usually with technology like that comes out, there's usually implications as far as how that affects society. We get access to that society, and of course, the unintended consequences when you have a population that's kind of increasing and doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon.
Yeah.
So there's always that question when I talk to friends about that, as far as how do you balance the need to improve quality of life while at the same time grappling with the current human condition where people are just growing their population, and how do you tell different cultures, because we're very diverse as a human population, where we have different cultures with different priorities, and the idea of immortality may present different questions with each society. So it's always been a thing that we kind of like argue with when I talk to friends.
Go to Mars.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've had the conversation. People get off into Alan Watts talking about you get bored after so long, you've done it all.
Yeah.
So you have to do what he called the surprise button. You hit this button and it resets everything in ways you can't control.
Yeah.
So that you're not bored. If you can't stay, mentally active and excited, maybe a lot of people won't want to live forever.
That's true. They might want to live more than 70 years, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't the world pretty good at being like a really great surprise button?
Oh, yeah.
That whole thing. If you're bored, it's probably because you're boring. Type of thing. I think this is one of those logical fallacies that always pops up when people talk about extended life. They're like, well, I'm just going to get really, really tired. It's like, well, it's true. Most people do have a tendency to get old and then kind of stuck in their ways, and then they turn into really, really dull people that nobody wants to hang out with. But that's like a problem with people. That's not a problem with the length of life. I think that's really important for people to remember when somebody comes up with something like that.
I mean, there could be a huge attitude change as well. If people realize they're going to live for 300 years, maybe you wouldn't get into cribbage so young. Yeah. Interesting.
A lot of traditional arguments that I've had, people have said is, a lot of times it has the same arguments that they have against almost anything that's new that they don't understand. I think it's important to open up the dialogue, at least get people started thinking about it. It's like, well, you just don't want to get old and sick. You don't want to think, they think like, oh, I'll be decrepit, or won't be able to do this, or I'll get bored. But the thing is that if you don't, I did this study or whatever, and I noticed that if you didn't die from natural causes, that you would die by age 650 in a car accident. Yeah, but basically by car accident would probably.
Hopefully, we have self-driving cars by then.
But the other part of that is that you can always, choose the way that maybe you would take risks. So there, that might not you might not normally take, or you might not take risks if you thought you could live forever. Maybe you would not. You wouldn't do things that were so dangerous. Again, you might get bored, so then you might do them.
Yeah, true.
So I guess the question is, the world is self-correcting. Eventually, if we live twice as long, our life is going to be half as good because there won't be half as much room. We won't enjoy it as much. So how do we make room for new people?
That's one of the questions.
And,
That's why I said, talk to Elon Musk, head to Mars. Yeah, I mean, and who knows? There could be people that will basically want to opt out at a certain age. You hit 300, you're like, all right, I'm out of here. I don't have that reset button. I can't hit it. So, I mean, it would be an interesting thing, and it may be an interesting thing based on everything that we're seeing with, like I said, the BioViva that we're going to see later today. I mean, who knows what will happen?
And at age 300, you have too big a family.
It's true.
If everybody else is living that long, you just can't stay with family that long.
Yeah, true.
So I want to address something I'm not hearing. One of the other parts of it that I hear a lot is ethics. Is it ethical to be pursuing negligible senescence when essentially we have so many thousands of children that are still dying of starvation? When we have these heavy fundamental flaws that impact the less fortunate, is it right to then essentially almost create, because one of the likelihoods is that this technology will start out as something available to the already privileged.
Yeah.
And so we'll essentially be creating such this huge disconnect between essentially immortal elites and these children that are still dying off, of starvation, of disease, they face such misery, that more misery in like 8 years than a normal person will experience in 80.
Yeah. I like to take the kind of optimistic view of that. I mean, you can see that it's not just the U.S. population that has doubled in the last 100 years, or the lifespan that has doubled in the last 100 years. It's all of the countries. They've been increasing. So hopefully it's like cell phones, where the technology gets cheap and cheap enough where more and more people can get access to it, or we could end up like the movie Elysium, and I'll be screwed.
I have one.
Sure.
Well, the economics of supporting yourself for that long. I think a lot of people think, oh, I want to retire and just coast the last 30 years. Well, I mean, you would actually need to be productive a lot longer, which could be good if you love
Yeah.
your job. But I think when I talk to people, they go, oh, God, no. I want to just...
But we could see maybe people changing careers.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure. I think my 10 minutes may be up. My name is Evan, by the way. If anybody wants to check out my website, informfuturist.com. Thanks very much.
Great job.